Hello again, hope everyone's well. We're going to do a little video on the Vega 215 Selena radio, which I bought back from the auction a couple of weeks ago. This one, as I showed at the time, was working, and it still is working. And at the time I just thought it needed a little bit of clean up. It's obviously been at the back of a garage or something. It's got paint spots on it, you can see up here, and the top finish here needs a little bit of help. It's a little bit tired and possibly flaky. Overall the set's in pretty good condition. You know, not much else to say really. I took the back off the other night, and if I bring you in a little bit closer, I noticed on closer inspection that this capacitor has got some crud around the bottom. So it's obviously leaked, and then this capacitor here has also got a little bit of crud on the bottom, on the top here. So they're all going to have to come out really, because you know, you can't have leaky capacitors in a sort of high performance or set like this one. So the way to do this is it's got 3 screws in it, 1, 2 and one somewhere else around here, up there, one there, and you need to desolder the FM head here, or just take these wires off, and then the board should pull up like that. And I've taken loads of digital photographs of all the wire connections, because I bet you as soon as I start moving the board there'll be a dry joint up here or something, and the wire will just drop off and I'll never know where it should go back to. I have got another Selena to refer to in the room just behind me, just in case that happens, but it's always worth taking loads of digital photographs. I've also got the owner's manual and the original circuit diagrams for it, which are on a thinnish bit of paper that is about A2 size. It's a big old bit of paper, and there's all the PCB layouts on the back. So I've got no problems in knowing where things go. This set's quite interesting actually. It's a bit clunky. Yes, it's got a turret tuner, one of these rotating tuner things, with each PCB in the tuner relating to a specific waveband. It's got a RF stage in it. Obviously got FM, medium, long wave. I think 4 shortwave bands, 5 shortwave bands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shortwave bands. So it is quite a respectable performer, and it's got quite a good speaker in it as well. That is probably half the weight of this flipping set. It has got a mains power supply, but I don't think anyone ever uses them, because you can't get the leads anyway. The leads are a little bit flaky, and that's a special fitting. I think some people have converted it to like a 2, you know, the older figure of 8 plug, but I'm not going to do that. I'll just run it on batteries. So you've got the amplifier and the power supply filtering board just there. There's a little mains transformer just in the background there. This is the RF section, the FM head. That's more than likely something to do with FM, because it's screened off. Now it's got what's called a double balanced mixer. This is quite an interesting feature of the circuit. Instead of your usual mixer, it uses a ring of 4 diodes, which are just here. Now the double balanced mixer tries to do pretty much what it says, so balance the incoming signal and the signal from the local oscillator. In other mixers or in other mixer designs, you might get noise from the local oscillator and unwanted RF noise passed on to the next stage in the circuit. There's plenty on the internet about them. I think it's either called, some people call it a ring diode mixer, but its proper name is a double balance mixer. And that's the thing there, these 4 diodes that you might otherwise suspect was some sort of full wave rectifying bridge, but that's what that is. That's the mixer. Right, I need to get my soldering iron fired up, and we're going to take this board out very carefully, and try and get all these capacitors out, all these electrolytics out. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no electrolytics in the FM head, so that's what we're going to do. No one else has touched it. It hasn't. All the components are original, including these bright blue Russian capacitors here. These electrolytics, which might look a bit modern, but no. This set was made in 1985. You can sometimes tell on Selena's the date because it'll be on the meter, or you know, or at least when the meter was made. And this one's 585. These big capacitors here, that one's March 1985. This one's April 1985. So the set was assembled obviously after May, or in May, after May 1985. So it's not that old. But obviously the leaky capacitors are not going to help anything. But a very interesting set. I absolutely love these sets. I think they're lovely. What I might do as well is, because the light bulbs are quite weak, I might put LEDs in there. Because these aren't worth a lot of money, but they're just very nice radios, very usable, very listenable. Got everything you want on them. They're just not worth a lot. Right, let's get cracking. Right, the board's all unsoldered. As I mentioned, just unsolder those connections from the FM head, and the board, if you undo 3 screws, the board should lift over with enough room to have a look. And there's the RF screen I was on about. Just move the camera along a bit. There's the RF screen, and you need to unsolder it to remove it, which is a bit of a nightmare, because at least 3 of the capacitors that I want to change, yeah, 3 of the capacitors that I want to change are covered by this RF screen. So I'm going to have to unsolder that. And there we go. I'll get on with it. I can't film and show this at the same time, it's too fiddly. Well, that was easier than I thought. I just unsoldered one edge up here, and then started to unsolder this one, and as it became, you know, as the solder became hot and molten, that thing just fell off. So it wasn't soldered on this end here or that end there, or not very well. So that makes things very much easier. This is actually going better than I thought it would. I've got 2 new capacitors in so far. Yeah, they're coming out quite easily. There's hardly any solder holding them in. But they're a very tight fit, or the leads are a very tight fit in the holes. While we've got the capacitor out, and I'll just rotate it around the right way, with, if you can see that, with Russian capacitors, the values are here, look. So this one's 6.3B 50 MK. So if you think B as volts, so 6.3 volts at 50 microfarad MK on here. And this one has a date of February 1985. Hope you can see that, and I'm not wobbling about too much. that's how you tell the values. 6.3B, 50 MK, so 6.3 volts at 50 microfarads, or 47 microfarads, 47 UF in the new electronics language. Right, this electrolytic here I can't get out. I'm trying to unsolder it at this end, and unfortunately it started to lift the pad off the board, so I've soldered it, or tried to solder it back in as best I could from the solder I sucked off. It won't actually come out of the hole, so I'm going to have to snip the ends and try and clip a new one in. Bit of a shame, but I'm not going to wreck this radio because it's hard enough holding the board up while trying to solder or unsolder. So that's what I'm going to do with that one. Right, here's the set all back together. I went through and tried to align it a little bit, and nothing seemed to make that much of a difference until I touched this preset there. Now that was around here, sort of about halfway, but I've turned it up a little bit, and I had a mirror over the back looking at the meter, and the meter went from, it depends how far you turn it. If I turned it a little bit, the meter actually stayed still. It didn't sort of move back and forth to show the signal strength. But I thought, right, let's turn it to the top and see what it does. And the volume actually gets louder, and the signal strength responds much more. And then you pass a peak and it starts to slow down and stop again. So that seemed, but the volume really came up with this little preset, and it's responding really well. I've got it set on my local FM station in Cambridge, and the sound's really good.
Well, I hope she wouldn't be here, but now I wish she was. She's a natural born destruction.
Yeah, I don't know what the song is, I'm not into country and western, but it sounds really great on FM now. Really, really good. Really sort of punchy and crisp, loads of bass response, much better than my other Selena that I thought was quite reasonable. So the reports of bad FM on these sets, possibly not true. I don't know, but yeah, this preset here, that one, I just turned it up slightly. The dial on FM is actually, it tracks fairly well actually, the needle tracks the dial fairly well, so I haven't touched the oscillators in there. And in fact you don't really want to touch FM at all if you can help it. But yeah, that preset, I don't know what that does, but yeah, it seemed to do the trick. Right, we've got some work to do. Put the FM aerial down before I bend it. We've got some work to do. Oops, there's all the batteries just gone. We've got some work to do cleaning up the cabinet now. The finish is looking a little bit tired. So that'll be the next part, just moving on to that.